Hi, I'm Sarah Subiata Bennett, and one of my greatest passions is helping Dallas grow, especially by creating opportunities for the next generation. I've shared before that my mother was a public school teacher in El Paso, Texas. She dedicated her whole life to making sure students who couldn't afford private school still had access to a quality education that will carry them into adulthood. Her passion shaped me. It taught me that every child, regardless of income or background, deserves a great education. That's why I'm honored to support the Dallas Education Collective, an organization committed to building and opening public charter schools in Dallas's most underserved areas. Their mission is simple but powerful: give every student access to high-quality education, break the cycle of poverty, and prepare the next generation of Dallas's workforce. Leading this initiative is Nakia Douglas, a lifelong educator with a heart for this work. I had the privilege of sitting down with him at a recent DEC community event, and I can't wait for you to meet this incredible leader who's bringing our community together to strengthen education in Dallas. Nakia.
Yes, ma'am. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I'm so happy to be at the Moreland Y today.
Yes, ma'am.
I love that you shared with me just a moment ago that your kids learned how to swim here.
Yes, ma'am.
And at the Park South Y.
Yes, ma'am.
And we both share a mutual friend, Rodrigo Ross.
Yes, ma'am.
A beautiful, exceptional woman.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
and do you know who the executive director over this Y is now?
The new executive director of this was Leonda Kelly.
Okay,
So she set it up
is.
for us to be here this afternoon. It's taking care of our team, and so no, this is a special. And even going back further with my own personal history with the Y, when this Morelands Y was off of Ledbetter, I literally was that was a summer program I participated in as a kid as well. So this is coming back home.
It's beautiful, and I know that at the Park South YMCA they have an early childhood school.
Yes, ma'am.
Set up there, and I know it's pretty robust.
Yes, ma'am. My kids actually participated in
They
there.
did.
In May of 2016, it'll be 10 years that we brought them to our forever family. And when they first came to our home that December, my wife and I are both educators, and we had to find somewhere for them to go. And they participated in the Park South early childhood program between Park South Y and Dallas ISD.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I used to raise funds for the YMCA,
Yes,
and it's a very special organization. It has impacted my life tremendously.
Yes.
And it's something that I love to continue supporting.
Yes, ma'am.
And is that why you requested that this very first Dallas Education Collective event be hosted here?
I'll say yes and no.
Okay.
Yes,
How'd that happen?
It just happened serendipitously.
Uh-huh.
But one of our close friends of the Dallas Education Collective said, "Had you thought about the Morelands Y?" I was like, yeah, I would love to have it there because of the symbolism that it has, not only for myself and my family, but more importantly for the community at large.
That's beautiful. And you're a lifelong educator.
Yes, ma'am.
You have been in education for as long as I know.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're a community gatherer, a person who, spearheads all different spaces within education itself.
Yes, ma'am.
What brought you to Dallas Education Collective, and what helped you spearhead this?
What brought me to the Dallas Education Collective was an understanding and alignment with my personal mission in regards to providing educational opportunities to those who need it most. As a lifelong educator, I've always sought to create the best learning opportunities for not only my students, but also for the families and the communities that I've been privileged to serve. And with this opportunity, it takes that to scale. I started off as a kindergarten teacher. I taught first and fourth grade, and I've been an elementary, middle, high school, and magnet school principal, and then also work with the school district. When you think about what we're able to do with Dallas Education Collective, we're able to push the status quo. We're able to allow not only kids, but more importantly, communities to dream again about what can be best for our kids. And more importantly, to dial in deeper with the community to create those wraparound supports and programs that'll be transformative. Because many people think that our kids aren't able to learn and or to progress. Sometimes it's not what they can do in the classroom. Sometimes it's those exterior challenges that they face. And so with what we're doing, creating that ecosystem around schools, it's going to be so transformative that it's going to change the lives of kids, families, and communities.
It's beautiful, and I don't believe that there's anyone better than you to run this organization. I think you know this about me, but my mother taught in an
Yes, ma'am.
underprivileged, underserved community for 38 years at the same school, Thomas Manor Elementary in El Paso.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's the community that I was raised in Ysleta. And you're right.
Yes,
So many children in our type of communities
Correct.
rarely make it out.
Correct.
What is it that you are hoping Dallas Education Collective will do differently from many of the organizations that you've spearheaded before?
Yes, ma'am. One thing that we're doing differently and being more intentional is regards to our community convenings that we're here for today. These community convenings not only allow us to share information to the community, but more importantly, get insight and feedback in regards to their hopes and dreams, and more importantly, their expectations for any partner that's coming in. When we think about our school systems, whether it's the ISDs and other existing charters that are here,
schools, yeah.
Sometimes they are done in such a way that you forget about those that you're serving. We're putting those that we're serving at the forefront. And so through the Dallas Education Collective and our community convenings, we're not only educating the parents and the kids and the community about the changes of what's happening in education, but more importantly, we're allowing them to be an active participant because when they own a school, when they own a community, they're not only going to invest in those students, but they're going to invest in the entire community, and then therefore it's transformational for generations to come.
I think that's exceptional.
Yes, ma'am.
And I hear through the grapevine that your team and you have been hitting the streets and asking entrepreneurs, local families, a lot of questions surrounding what's been provided to them in the past.
Yes, ma'am.
And what types of questions is it that you're asking of them for clarity surrounding your particular mission and purpose?
Specifically, we want to find out what are their current experiences and how they can be improved upon. How engaged are they, and are they encouraged to be engaged? What ages are their kids, and more importantly, what ages are their kids? What are their hopes and dreams, and how can we collaboratively work together to help them not only attain those dreams but supersede those dreams?
Amazing. And what does your funding situation look like at this point in order to enact these said dreams?
Yes, ma'am. We have our original funder, Mr. Monty Bennett, and his family that you all have laid the groundwork. And now not only are we sense making, but we're also gaining interest from other local nonprofits and, more importantly, philanthropic organizations that are curious about this work, that understand the need for the work and are looking to evaluate how they're going to come alongside of us on this journey.
I'm just so grateful that your good name is at the front of this organization, because I know there's oftentimes certain kinds of association with Monty Bennett. And it saddens me so much because so many children need a second chance,
Yes,
need
ma'am.
a first chance.
Yes, ma'am.
And have you found that your good name has somewhat worked to help pave the pathway to negate a lot of those negative thoughts and statements that were previously made?
Yes, ma'am. Monty and I entered into this journey spiritually. That's how we connected. Beyond the mission, beyond the vision, it was two men understanding who we are and where we came from and what our goals and missions are in life and the legacy we look to lead. And it's been beautiful in regards to getting to know him. What's been powerful is the transformational ideas that are happening, not only internally but externally. When I think about, a lot of people second guess and question why I would partner with Monty. And I explained to them, I said, this is a spiritual journey that I'm on that some people won't understand. But when you're doing what you're called to do, or what you were put on this earth to do, that is your God-given gift, you do it unrelenting, because you understand that he won't fail us. And our kids need us. And if it takes unorthodox methods to encourage, create spaces, and more importantly, have better outcomes for our kids, I'm going to do this today, tomorrow, and forever. And that's just who I am and who we are collectively as a Dallas Education Collective.
That makes me so happy to hear. And can you tell me a little bit about the model
Yes,
that
ma'am.
you have pioneered? So are you working with schools already set up in the public school system,
Yes, ma'am.
or charter schools,
Yes,
or
ma'am.
both?
So, a long time ago, I started a school called the Barack Obama Male Leadership Academy.
Okay, amazing.
That was my last principalship.
I love that.
And prior to starting that campus, I studied the best public, private, and charter schools, not only here in the state of Texas, but around the United States, and actually had the opportunity to travel abroad. I'm doing the same thing with this. And the reason I'm doing so is because that intentionality that we want to bring the best to our kids and to our community. And so there may be a non-traditional program happening in Austin or Brownsville, Texas, or in Seattle, Washington, that is not only transformative, but more importantly, intentionally creating better learning opportunities for kids that we're going to have in our city. And so in the intention of in regards to how we're building our program, first and foremost, we're hearing from the community, but secondly, studying those best practices of what's worked and finding and identifying those schools that are interested in coming to be here in Dallas to serve our kids in communities that historically don't have access to the best educational opportunities. And in doing so, we have a portfolio of schools and partners that we have, but also unintentionally but intentionally, there have been some great relationships that have developed not only within the charter community but also with the ISDs. I've developed several informal mentorship opportunities with new and emerging leaders that are leading our schools. And so I see, and I've always been taught that to them whom much is given, much is required. A lot of veterans poured into me when I was a young educator, and so now that I have the same opportunity to do it to others, I'm ensuring that whether it's a school that is directly supported by DEC or one that's indirectly supported by DEC, that our kids have access to the best.
That's terrific. Are you going to be utilizing any type of artificial intelligence? I know you. I'm not sure if you toured the Alpha School.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my goodness, I'm such a fan of theirs.
I was blown away.
Right? Isn't
Yes,
it
ma'am.
remarkable?
Yes, ma'am.
So where did you leave that conversation with them?
I left that conversation twofold. I'm familiar with the Alpha schools because that is a private school,
Yep.
but I'm also familiar with their AI student curriculum called Student.
Yep.
Student is a mastery-based curriculum that allows kids to accelerate based off their skill sets. But also it also remediates where necessary. That is a tool that we're looking at considering for our campuses and communities as well.
That's terrific.
Yes, ma'am.
It's tremendous.
Yes, ma'am.
So I was adopted, and my
Yes, ma'am.
mother that raised me was an educator, like
Yes,
I
ma'am.
said. So my birth mom was too poor to keep me, but
Yes, ma'am.
thankfully I was, given to my parents,
Yes.
and so she poured into me in a way that I guess otherwise wouldn't have happened.
Right.
My birth mother, I love her very much, and
Yes,
she
ma'am.
was just living to survive and to give my two older siblings at the time just food on the table and whatever education they could
Yes,
have.
ma'am.
I think they lived in the wards in Houston.
Yes, ma'am.
And so all of us have such different upbringings,
Right.
But the thing is that I remember so much about my mom who raised me is that she always said, I hope that your life is one that touches many different backgrounds.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know what you're supposed to do, but you are special.
Yes, ma'am.
And it just feels so beautiful to me
Yes, ma'am.
that, you and I have different backgrounds,
Yes, ma'am.
different lives
Right.
now, but convening around something like education is something that every person in this world
Yes,
can
ma'am.
rally around.
Yes, ma'am.
It doesn't matter the size, shape, color, anything
Yes, ma'am.
regarding these children, because every child
Right. Right.
deserves the opportunity to have the chance
Yes, ma'am.
to make a different life for themselves than they otherwise would have just thought was baked in.
Yes, ma'am.
Or just
Yes,
what
ma'am.
everyone else decided to be a part of,
Yes, ma'am.
and continue, I guess, a life that doesn't have a lot of hopes,
Right.
aspirations. Do you find that this particular footprint is something that can really spearhead that kind of change
Yes,
for
ma'am.
kids in masses?
Yes, ma'am. Not only is it going to change the kids, it's going to change the parents and the community.
I love this.
there's a belief that I've always had, and it's actually one of the core beliefs of one of my former campuses: engagement, encouragement, exposure, and excellence. When the kids are engaged in the learning process, they get to learn how to dream. They are exposed to careers that they may not have ever thought of.
That's right.
Through field trips, through college tours, through speakers. When we think about engagement, encouragement, exposure, that exposure lights a fire within them. It allows them to see beyond their current circumstances, because there's a different mindset that you have when you're in survival mode.
That's right.
As you're transitioning to thriving mode.
Yes.
When we can teach and help kids understand that, yes, you may have to sacrifice a little bit now to have greater returns in the future because you're doing something you're passionate about. And so when we would bring speakers in, it would be beautiful because there was always an unspoken word. You never ask anyone how much they make. You find out how did they find their purpose and how did they find their passion to become the professional that they are today. When you are embedding that in a child in kindergarten, you never know what the sky is.
That's right.
And they get to define for themselves. And there's power in owning the dreams that are not only placed in front of you, but also the dream and the path that you choose to follow.
It's beautiful.
Yes, ma'am.
Those are beautiful words, Nakia. And they're so poignant and true.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything in particular that you want to share surrounding the kids in the existing Dallas Independent School District space, and how quickly you believe this initiative can positively affect and impact these said kids?
In thinking about the most recent scores that Dallas ISD and a lot of the surrounding districts have had, there's been great improvements.
Yes, thank God.
But we know that there's still work to do.
Of course, yes.
And so it further validates that our kids can do when given the best and the greatest opportunities. So that shift that happens isn't necessarily with the kids, it's with the adults. And so as people learn more about us as Dallas Education Collective, as people understand our mission and embrace the mission, we're going to have more people collectively coming together to transform what public education can be and should be for all kids. The beauty of this role, and I've had a conversation with someone, they asked me, so what are you going to do? I said, we're going to continue this work, and we're going to create schools, we're going to create collaborative opportunities, not only between our schools, but also with the community and the ISDs and the other existing charters. They said, okay. And I said, well, I have a question. I said, have we opened up a school yet? They said, no. I said, have we made any donations yet? I said, no. I said, so if me being in this seat makes you all do better by our kids and they have better outcomes, I'm doing exactly what I've been called to do. But there's also the understanding that there's more to still be done. And so collectively we can do more through the Dallas Education Collective and our partnerships.
That's terrific.
Yes, ma'am.
Bringing it back to today, I had a whole bunch of questions that I'm not even going to reference. I'm just shooting from the heart here.
Yes, ma'am.
What are you hoping will transpire today?
Yes, ma'am.
During this panel?
Yes,
First, who will be speaking?
Yes.
And what are you hoping the call to action will be from here?
The beauty of the panel will be that the community gets to hear from leaders, whether it's elected officials, whether it's educational leaders, whether it's nonprofit, whether it's business leaders, in regards to the changes that they're seeing happening. Because now you're framing it from a perspective that there's a pathway for my child, for my family, for our community to enter into. The other beautiful part that we're able to witness now are the community partners that are coming in. Because a lot of the parents and families aren't familiar or aware of the resources that exist. And there will also be school leaders here as well, because there may be partnerships that they could have initiated and or maybe just weren't aware of that are going to happen. When we talk about a collective, it's bringing people together. And so what's going to happen? They're going to be educated first and foremost from our panel. We're going to have the opportunity to hear from our community vendors, and also potentially get resources and supports for their kids and for their families. And then they're also going to be a part of creating a new vision of what tomorrow is going to be through the partnerships with Dallas Education Collective and the entire community. It's happening exactly where it's supposed to. The beauty of a lot of these partners, some of them I work with in my prior roles, either at UNT Dallas, as a campus principal, or as an executive director, or just through the community. And so it was that call to action that we need to be here collectively for our kids, for our community, to create the next generation of leaders that are going to take care of us when we get old.
That's right.
We know one day we're going to slow down.
Yeah.
So we want to know that those doctors, those dentists, which I went to visit today, optometrists are the best.
That's exactly right.
And it happens through the power of education.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am.
That's right, it does. Is there anything else that you want our viewers and listeners to be aware of in anticipation of today and anything moving forward?
I want you to be aware that the Dallas Education Collective is here, and we're looking to have an impact, a strategic impact in the lives of kids. We want you all to be a part of this journey with us, whether it's donating, whether it's volunteering, whether it is supporting and or being an advocate. We need you. We can't do it by ourselves. As much as we would like to, we just wave a magic wand, we don't have that power. But there's power in the number of, in many. Mm-hmm. And so when we were able to all come together for this singular focus, kids and education. Kids, education lead to our future. Mm-hmm. If we can do that, the sky's the limit. So I'm calling on your listeners, all listeners, everyone visiting and or listening to our talk today to come join us in this journey.
And are they able to do that online? Is there a place where they can, I know they can donate online.
Yes, ma'am.
And they can fill out a form to be involved?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. If you go to our website, DallasEducationCollective.org, you can donate and or you can sign up to be a part of our movement, because this is not a moment, this is a movement that's going to transform not only the lives of our kids and our community, but more importantly, our city and our futures.
Thank you so much, Nakia.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate your time today.
Thank you for this opportunity. Yes, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now that you've met Nakia one-on-one and seen that he's the real deal, let me tell you, he might shine even brighter in front of a crowd. Give this man a mic and audience, and he somehow takes it to the next level. Nakia had the honor of kicking off the very first DEC community event at the Moreland YMCA. And if you want a clear picture of what the DEC is all about, his words will help you understand the mission piece by piece.
First and foremost, this gathering marks the beginning of our shared journey in which we're transforming what public education can, should, and will be for our kids collectively. Whether your voices are utilized through the classrooms, through communities, and or in your living rooms, we will shape a new educational platform for the city of Dallas. DEC was founded with the fundamental principles that no child's potential should be limited by their zip codes. We believe in seeing the whole child. As a lifelong career educator, I understand that every child deserves to be served. But sometimes children have to be served in different capacities. So when you think about the ecosystems that we're developing, we're looking at their mental health. We're looking at their food insecurities. We're looking at their after-school time programs. We're looking at if they're dealing with homelessness. But we're also looking at the out-of-school time partners that can transform the lives of those kids. Because the parents can't do it by themselves, just like we can't do it by ourselves. So collectively, we're able to do so. What the data tells us, why are we meeting now? I have to celebrate Dallas ISD. I'm a product of Dallas ISD. I'm a former employee of Dallas ISD, and the work that they've done and have been doing has been phenomenal. But all of us know that there are still gaps to be filled. We know that those different student groups across the district still have challenges. And so with that, collectively, we can bring about not only solutions, but more importantly, ensure that every child has access to the best educational opportunities that are available to us. When we think about DEC being student-centered and a community-informed approach, it starts tonight. These community convenings are not just for us to tell you all what we want to do and how we envision it. We want you all to have ownership. We want you all to look at and, more importantly, understand your role in your child's education, your role in the education of all kids throughout the community, your role throughout the community. And in understanding those roles, you become active participants. And so within these community convenings, you're going to hear from leaders across our city, across our state, from elected officials, educational leaders, nonprofit leaders, and also just concerned individuals that have a love and joy for the lives of our kids. Next, we think about the community being the engine. Nothing happens within a community without the citizens. And when we consider the citizens, we all have voices. When we think about the voices, those voices have dreams. A lot of us were privileged to have some great educators that led us to who we are and where we are today. But all of our kids don't have those opportunities. All of our kids don't have the connectedness, the villages that were around us. When I think about this facility here, as I was talking with Sarah earlier during my interview, I said this facility is significant. My children came here to swim. When it was Morelands Y and it was off of Ledbetter, I used to spend summers there. Our kids came to our Forever family, it'll be 10 years ago in the spring. They participated at Park South Y in the early childhood program. I know what a community-centered approach can do, not only for my own kids, but I was a neighborhood kid myself. So while my mom couldn't fill every gap for me, she made sure that the Y, the Boys Club, my tutoring programs, all those other community individuals, our church, poured into my sister and I to ensure that we were well prepared. Now we need to do the same for our next generation of young men and young women, because to them whom much is given, much is required. A lot was poured into us as we were growing up, as we were maturing. Now we have to make sure that we equip the next generation with the same tools in the same village, regardless of where they come from. Our promised impact. DEC's work is anchored in the belief that education is the tool for transformation, for not only individuals, for families, and for communities. And so when we think about the transformational, generational changes that can happen through education, it is thus our this evening with the community convening. What's ahead? We're looking for a mindset. I've been privileged to, again, be in education for a while, and so I've always sought out and still seek out the best educational opportunities from public, private, and charters. What are you doing that is transformational in the lives of kids, and how can we bring that back to our schools? That came from my mom sacrificing and my sister and I attending private school from kindergarten to 8th grade. It always bothered me when I would go home and talk with my friends and ask, what were you all learning? They wouldn't have the same experiences. I'd talk about the field trips I went on. So when I accepted my calling to education, I always said I would offer a private school education at a public school cost. That's what DEC is seeking to do. We want to offer the best opportunities that you would find at any private school, the highest performing ISDs, the highest performing charter schools, to the kids of our communities. Specifically, Oak Cliff, South Dallas, and Pleasant Grove. We're not saying we're boldly going where no one has gone before, but we're boldly going in with an expectation and a vision that we're going to transform not only the lives of those kids, but those communities. Because when you get the ecosystems developed, you have those strong schools and you have those strong outcomes, it's going to change the trajectory of those communities as well.
At this community gathering, Nakia brought together a powerhouse panel of education experts to tackle some of the biggest challenges facing educators, students, and parents today. This well-rounded group offered insights from every angle, helping the community better understand the unique challenges and opportunities facing students in underserved areas. But no matter where the school is, there seems to be one major issue facing our education system in Texas, and Dr. Tiffany Clark speaks to that issue so eloquently.
So when you are talking about advocating for education, you're looking at curriculum, you're approving or denying charter schools coming into your districts. These people don't understand the foundational things that actually go into a classroom. When you look at these bills that are being passed recently, all 107 bills around education, and you start deep diving into them, these are definitely made by people who haven't been in a classroom. When you start talking about social emotional learning and you can no longer ask, hey, how are you doing today? Your well-being, because now you're invading that kid's privacy, and unless that parent signs that permission slip, that's no longer a conversation you can have. So these are things that are being swept under the rug, and so when you talk about accountability and standards, who's setting these standards? What does this accountability look like? We don't know, because they're not being actually done by people who are boots on the ground in the classrooms, your teachers, your counselors, your principals. Their voices are ignored. And talking about accountability, the STAR test, that bill is happening again right now in special session. But everybody's looking at the redistricting map situation that it has been passed over. They're trying to add more STAR tests instead of erasing it now. But you wouldn't know that if you haven't been following these bills in this special session.
We talk a lot about accountability ratings and school grades because there has to be a way to publicly hold school districts to a standard. But just as important, there needs to be a way for parents to hold their districts, schools, and even teachers accountable. In this clip, David Williams, CEO and Superintendent of Village Tech Schools, shares what he's learned about what real accountability looks like inside the classroom.
I think the first thing we have to do is define success. So what in fact do we mean by success in school for our children? When we ask parents, what are your hopes and fears for your children, they come up with the same answers every time. I want my child to be in a place where they're loved and appreciated for who they are. I want my child to be in an environment that's challenging to them, that allows them to build skills and gain confidence. I want them to be in an environment that connects them to the world beyond school. I want them to participate in projects or work that mean something, that doesn't just end up in a backpack or end up on a teacher's desk. And when we look at that as a measure of success, then I think that accountability comes through a shared dialogue and through partnership. It's like Dr. Clark mentioned. We want parents in our schools. We want parents to partner with us. In fact, we have our Chief School Leadership Officer here, Ms. Sharetta Stewart-Mays, and she always talks about the triangle between parent, teacher, and school. And so we want that triangle to be in force for our families. I think when you have that relationship, then accountability becomes a different kind of discussion. I remember in the classroom I had a young man, his name was Charles, and he was struggling. And I gave a phone call to mom at home and said, this is what's going on in class. Charles isn't succeeding. He's not completing his work. He's despondent to what we're doing. And the mom just laid into me. Let me have it for, I don't know how long, probably too long, but I was 23 and didn't know how to change a conversation. And at about, I think the 30-minute mark of me taking it, she says, Mr. Williams, please just look out for my boy Chucky. And in that moment, we had a shared purpose. I didn't have a student who was misbehaving in class or not performing his work. I had a young man with a name and a home and a mother who cared about him, and we could get on the same page about how to help him be successful.
How can parents all over Texas stay informed when choosing a school for their child? It sounds simple, but it's a little more complicated than looking at a website. Dr. Tiffany Clark gives her insights.
So texasschools.gov is the website that a parent can go in. They can put in their address or their zip code, and it will show them the schools in the area. And it shows you all their accountability ratings. To me, it's not the easiest format to read. It'll tell you the basic letter grade, but then when you start looking to break down the different domains, I think that's where the information can get lost in translation. But that's gonna be the first place or the easiest place to go look to see how schools are performing in your area. But again, I think it's a matter of going to the schools, asking for campus visits to see if you understand the culture, see if you appreciate the culture, see if your kid could be a good asset or do well in that space, because every school is not for every kid. So that's why we have to take advantage of school choice. But again, it has to be a right fit, and it has to be able to be that community space that your student and you as a parent feel like you could be a part of as well. It goes back to that village narrative, honestly, and that community village, community support, community lens is really how you address anything related to the school system. And so much of that has been lost in this age of parenting almost. So when you ask how can parents get involved, show up. And if you don't know something, find someone who you can trust, right? I have no kids, but yet I'm on 10 kids emergency contact list. And the reality is, those kids will call me and say, hey, Dr. Clark, I need you to show up at school. So finding that voice of reason as a parent and knowing that it's okay to ask, right? A lot of times I get a lot of emails from constituents all the time. I serve 500,000 people. I write them back because your question is valid, your concern is valid. And I think that's important, just knowing that somebody is gonna listen to you is what parents want. They want to know that their voice is being heard and that you care about their student.
About 65% of today's children will work in jobs that don't even exist yet. That's why it's crucial that their education keeps up with the fast-paced, ever-changing world we live in. Otherwise, we risk preparing them for a future that's already outdated. Kevin Mallinson, Texas Executive Director for Teach Plus, shares his perspective on what we should be doing right now to ensure education stays aligned with the careers of tomorrow.
It's going to take a lot of work that has already started, but I think the adults in the room all need to get on the same page about what the role of the school is in the community. I also want to say something that I've been itching to say up here, and it relates to the question Dr. Clark talked about and this question, and that is, go vote. Like, lots of these issues that we're talking about are administered or decided by elected officials, and the State Board for Educator Certification, all those folks are appointed by the governor. We kind of see what our politics look like in the state from that level. The first thing to do is go vote, right? And really get involved in what's going on, so that you're not just reactionary. But I really think the adults in the room need to get on the same page. That's frankly why I'm here. Like, I support visionary leaders like Mr. Douglas, and I'm always working for children. And so when I can find a space where the adults are walking in lockstep in support of the students, that doesn't mean all the adults have to agree all the time. I think there are many different avenues to get where we need to go, but we got to have conversation. All the adults have to be moving in the same general direction, and also we have to have a longitudinal attitude or perspective about this. I've worked in education for 30 years, and lots of the same issues that brought me into education are still vexing us, but I'm not going anywhere. And I think it's important for folks to get into the fight, stay in the fight, and find your why. For me, that's my 2 children, the ones that my wife birthed, as well as the hundreds of thousands of kids that attend all kinds of different schools in the DFW area. And the last thing let me say is, I was itching the whole time to say, school choice has been politicized, that word. So we as parents and community members also need to just figure out, we are consumers. If you pay taxes, most of you do, then those taxes are paying for somebody's school, whether that's a private school nowadays because of they don't want to call them vouchers, but because of the vouchers. Public school, when you pay your property taxes, that's paying for school. Same thing with charter schools. People think charter schools are they are in a separate space, but they are real public schools. And so we've got to become educated consumers, stay in the game, and again, the adults need to start moving or continue moving in the same direction over a long period of time.
The panel discussion wrapped up with questions from the audience. One of the more compelling questions was about the use of AI in schools. How do we find the balance of using AI in schools? Because that's real life now, and how do we still have students work independently? Most of our panelists chimed in on this one.
You have to have a disposition that Pandora's box has been opened. That's not changing. It's not going back in the box. AI is here with us. Generative AI is here with us. Depending on who you read, it's only going to get better, right? So I think this is we can talk about policy, and we can talk about district level policies and how those things are going to either encourage or discourage, but really we have some significant pedagogical teacher instruction questions of how does learning happen, right? And what activities best lead to learning, and then how to use these tools. And I'll say there's not a great answer today. College professors are trying to redesign their curriculums on the fly, somewhat unsuccessfully. Pre-K-12 is trying to do the same thing. So I think it's a combination of an openness and an experimentation with it, while also making sure that we're reflecting as educators on how are students really learning and what's the potential impact. Because I think we all have to keep in mind, AI is a profit-driven product. It's not designed to serve schools and students. So we have to be mindful of that in our implementations.
I would just add, it's ironic that our state government just passed a ban on devices. So now middle school, no kid is supposed to have a device, a handheld device, a personal device throughout the school day. So there's a little bit of tension there. I just want to point out, it was literally maybe 5 to 7 years ago that we just realized that 3Qing rather than phonics, that phonics rather than 3Qing was the way to teach kids how to learn. So I'm not 100% sure we've even got it right as the adults. What I do know is that there are some tools that can help the administrative piece of the teaching role. I'm not talking about pedagogy at all. I'm talking about master scheduling for your principals. I'm talking about building curriculum that's differentiated for all the different kids in your classroom. I do believe that we can take away many of the hours that teachers spend beyond the school day, but I just don't think educators or the profit-driven folks that have built this stuff, I don't think they understand pedagogy enough yet. Most of the conversation is around keeping kids from cheating, at this point. Dr. Clark.
Yeah, so when we talk about the cell phone ban, we know there's mixed reviews on it already. One thing I will tell you though is when I did my first day of school rounds, schools were calm this year. That normal anxiety level that's there, it was not there this year. So that's a positive, right? So we're expecting academic gains. However, on the flip side, when you talk about technology, I received an email from a parent from Irving ISD actually the other day because her kid needed their cell phone to do their dual credit sign up because that's where all the information was. So when that's become almost your computer, really, that has all of your information, maybe your social security number as a high schooler because you don't know it yet. Some kids don't even know their addresses in middle school, let's be real. So that information is stored there, and the fact that they couldn't use that, it was a hindrance to them now signing up for their collegiate courses. So how are we balancing it? We don't know. And again, this is why I said you have policymakers making decisions who don't understand all the implications yet. Because if you would have asked a teacher at what level can it be used and how to actually set some good boundaries instead of just prohibiting it altogether, we may be in a different outcome and situation. So I think it's still a learning curve, and it's going to continue to be a learning curve. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple of lawsuits by the end of the year on this.
As this conversation shows, our education system is constantly evolving. And while there's still a long way to go, progress is being made. In fact, things in DISD have already improved compared to just a year ago. That gives us reason to be hopeful. The light at the end of the tunnel is not only brighter, it feels closer. Organizations like the Dallas Education Collective are helping to make that progress possible by uniting the community to support those who need it the most. I encourage you to consider supporting Nakia and the DEC in this important work. One simple way to get involved is by attending the upcoming community meeting. There are two coming up. The first one is Tuesday, September the 23rd at the Park South Family YMCA. The second is Tuesday, October 21st at the Pleasant Oaks Recreation Center. Both meetings run from 5:30 to 7 p.m. You can find more details at dallaseducationcollective.org.